Max was rushing me, as usual. "Hurry up, Davy, the party starts at 11. "Well, then we'll show up at 12:30, I called back, poking my head out of the bathroom door. I could see him standing down the hallway in his pinstripe suit and matching top hat. He was going as a Victorian-era Jack Skellington from The Nightmare Before Christmas. His intricate Dia de los Muertos sugar skull face paint was some of my finest work. His dark eyes glimmered, and I found myself longing for him once again, remembering how we'd met in that lusty goth club all those years ago. He glared at me and rolled his eyes. "Maybe I'll just go without you." That ruined it. I scoffed and pulled myself back into the bathroom. Gazing into my reflection in the mirror, I recalled our fight the night prior and slowly took a breath to calm myself down. "Go right ahead," I loudly responded, reaching for my makeup kit. "Sally has work to do." As I finally began to work on my own face, I heard his angered footsteps fading toward the front of the apartment. Memories of him shouting and swearing at me returned. The door slammed within a few moments and I was finally alone. I turned up my Halloween mix and finally began to concentrate. Each intricate and bloody stitch that I painted on my gray-colored face felt as if it were on my broken heart, pulling the pieces back together. My anger and sorrow melted away as I hid my identity behind a mask of art. My suit, handmade from different patches to look like Sally's dress, was something I was incredibly proud of. I had just learned to sew about a month prior, but I was very happy with it. As I reached for my keys dangling on the wall hook next to the front door, I became distracted by my engagement ring. It was glistening, shimmering in the light. Remembering Max as he once was, sweet and loving, loyal and kind, I felt my heart breaking once again. Taking a deep breath, I pulled the ring from my finger and hid it into my pocket, and I was on my way. The autumn cold began to chill me to the bone. The wind rushed through my bedhead hair as leaves danced about before me, and I realized I was alone. No cars were in the foggy street. The trick-or-treaters had vanished without a trace, and even the lights of the skyscrapers had darkened. Only I was brave, or foolish, enough to walk the streets alone on Halloween, it seemed. As I passed an alleyway, I noticed a tall, dark figure out of the corners of my eyes. He was standing there in the moonlight, just staring. A chill swept over me, and I found myself frozen in place, looking back at him. The stranger chuckled. "You headed to that party over on Stein?" he asked. His voice was deep and masculine. I nervously nodded. As he approached, I saw that he was dressed as a male version of Emily from The Corpse Bride. His makeup and body paint was quite impressive, though his hair was simply spray-colored to be bluish-purple. Instead of a wedding dress, he wore a beautiful white tuxedo, and he had scruffy 5 o'clock shadow. "Our outfits are both Tim Burton-inspired," I noted. He smirked. "They are," he said, tilting his head. "Where's your Jack? Sally should never be without him, you know." I shook my head. "Probably making out with some twink," I grumbled, rolling my eyes. The handsome stranger reached over and touched my hand. It was warm, but electrifying. As my eyes met his golden gaze, he smiled softly. "Maybe you should have someone to make out with, too, don't you think?" I laughed rather awkwardly and pulled away from him. Despite how lonely as I've been, I'm afraid I'm not looking for anything like that right now. "Then what are you looking for? What do you want? What will make you happy?" This question struck me into a stupor. In truth, I wasn't certain. My whole life I'd wanted some sort of fairy tale ending, some Disney romance, but I suppose there's a reason why they call that a fantasy. I don't know, I admitted. He chuckled once more. "I think you do," he said, tilting his head. "You just think it isn't real, but maybe I can make it real for you." I furrowed my brows. Studying his strangely fiery eyes, I tilted my head. "Who are you?" "Tonight, I am the corpse groom." He dusted off his white ragged tux. His blue-painted skin seemed to glow in the moonlight. After taking my hand into his own, he bowed before me and kissed it. Gazing longingly up at me, he tilted his head. But a groom is not a groom without a ring. Blinking, I pulled away and reached into my pocket. Almost in a trance, I revealed my engagement ring and slid it onto his finger. The entire time, I was mesmerized by his gaze, locked in place as if my every movement were his own. Smiling widely, he stood back up straight and gazed down at the spiderweb ring and blood-red ruby on his hand. "Beautiful," he said, flashing those ember eyes back up to me. "Now tell me, why did you hide it unless you didn't want it to be seen?" I gulped nervously. "He's cheated on me before. A few times, really," I admitted, despite desperately trying not to. "And he makes me feel so alone. When we aren't fighting, he's completely ignoring me. I feel so hollow with him. The handsome stranger nodded. And why are you ashamed of that? Because I'm in my mid-30s and I feel like a failure because I've never really had a partner who truly acted like a partner. I still don't have a career, never learned to drive, I'm nothing. The distinguished gentleman dressed as the corpse groom smiled. But you are incredibly creative. You do makeup, you make clothes. He began reaching over and touching my cheek with his fingertips. He was looking at me as if he loved me. You love with passion and loyalty, and you truly deserve a lover who treats you the same. He then took my hand into his own and began to pull me along on the sidewalk I had been traversing. The sound of our shoes clacking against the concrete was all that could be heard. The full moon glowed, watching us as we walked in the opposite direction of the party that I had been planning on attending. I couldn't turn around. I couldn't release his hand. I couldn't scream. I couldn't cry. But the further into the darkness we grew, the more he changed. His blue-painted skin slowly boiled into a vibrant red. 2 long, wicked horns came spiraling out of the sides of his head. His spray-painted hair fell out, revealing a bald head, and that devil's trademark curled mustache and goatee grew upon his handsome face. A long, forked tail appeared dancing about behind him, and those thick legs severed through his pants and shoes, revealing that they were now goat-like, ending in cloven hooves. Finally, a pair of leathery bat-like wings exploded from his suit, ripping it away from him at once. His thick, muscular body was revealed to me in full. He was naked. He was beautiful. He was terrifying. By the time he was done revealing his true form, we had arrived at a dark, desolate, fog-strangled cemetery. It was eerily silent, but the moon continued to watch over us from behind sharp branches of the dead trees that surrounded us. In a burst of flames, a leathery business contract appeared within his clawed hand. Instead of a pen, however, he revealed a small knife, the hilt of which featured a pentagram. Would you like me to introduce your soulmate to you? He's been lonely as well, poor thing. Are you the devil? I weakly asked, feeling as if I were in a dream. Raising a single brow, he turned to me, showing me that charming grin, perfectly framed with a neatly trimmed facial hair. Do you want me to be? I imagined someone like you, who finds comfort in the darkness, to be unafraid by my true appearance, but it is Halloween after all. What would you like me to present as? I studied those ember eyes for a moment. I do appreciate the truth, I mumbled, my eyes washing over his hairy chest and abs, down to his pendulous manhood. Heat rose in my face. I was blushing for the first time since my teenage years. This looks fine. He nodded. And about your soulmate, he continued. He owns a pretty successful business, I hear. I'm sure he'd put your pretty little ass to work, in more ways than one. As he said that, he shot me a flirty wink. You would like to meet him, yes? I bit my lower lip, still memorizing the dark beauty of his form. That depends, I said, blinking and flashing my green eyes back to him. Is he a 10-foot-tall, red-skinned, horned, well-endowed king of hell? I smirked, raising a single brow. Once again, the devil's eyes widened in surprise, but he grinned. I must say, you're surprising me. What makes you think that I would be looking for a relationship? I scoffed. Hell is probably overcrowded and undermanned. How many wicked souls go unpunished in a day? With my desire for justice, I could help you rule. His grin turned into a sly smirk. And what would you get out of that? Motioning vaguely to all of his beauty, I laughed. Sex with the original sinner, I spewed. Also, you were the first person to demand equal rights. You may be a badass, but I never thought you were a bad guy. His smirk faded at once, and his brows arched a bit. Oh, really? He seemed intrigued. I nodded, and Lilith, the mother of demons, was the first feminist. Is it true that she's the queen of hell, or is that just fan fiction? The devil chuckled. That is fan fiction, I'm afraid. She is like a sister to me. I'm gay. This surprised me. You are Lucifer, the beautiful, the powerful, and yet you're single? He nodded. I am. To be fair, demons never did anything for me, and angels are, well, out of my league now, as it were, though I do have a thing for humans. Interesting, I said, stepping toward him. I took a hold of the contract, presumably made from human skin, and, ignoring the terms written in blood, I tossed it aside. You know, you wouldn't have any need for my soul if you had my heart. In that moment, he dropped the beautifully decorated dagger to the ground, letting it stab into the hallowed earth beneath us. He then lifted me into his meaty, muscular arms, cradling me like a babe. Then I shall stake claim to it, my beautiful one. And with that, he met his warm, delicious lips to my own, and we shared our first infernal kiss.